Insane performance, insane price. Intel's 10-core Broadwell-E, Radeon RX 480, $500 of performance for $200. Asus Avalon, and your questions on The Full Nerd. Welcome to The Full Nerd, Episode 2, recorded June 3rd, 2016. I'm Gordon Maung with co-host Brad Charkis.
Hello.
And our special guest, Hayden Dingman.
Hello.
Welcome back, Hayden. Pulling the strings this week is Adam Patrick Murray, or APM.
Gordon, I have a question.
Yeah.
Why did it take us so long to get onto iTunes?
I'm not sure. It could have been because Hayden swore once, and they probably have to discuss it. Or also, they don't like us because we use PCs.
Yeah, because episode 0 is not on there either, right?
You're right. They screened it. We're being censored.
So that
it's
means
because of me.
Yeah. That means this episode with Hayden
will also not make it on iTunes.
Yeah, Apple's gonna just pretend they've never seen it.
Maybe Apple has something against.
It's because they don't play video
Hayden.
games.
Yes, they don't. Because Hayden, of course, is our video game expert, and as we know, people don't play games on Macs, do they?
It's because they keep scheduling all their developer conferences the exact same day as E3.
That is
what
true.
The hell?
Well, you're right. Are they really doing that?
Yep, for a third year in a row.
Wow, that's really not cool, man. Although, I mean, it's not like anybody plays games on Macs. Now, we're just saying this intentionally to troll you, so you email us. Dear sir, I am playing Counter-Strike Source. No, I don't know. Did they even have Counter-Strike Source on?
Yeah, I feel like they do.
Source, I think Source is on.
I feel like Valve hates Windows enough. They would make a Mac version.
I wonder. I have not looked at the state.
They at least they must have a Linux version.
What's the percentage of people on Steam who actually play
on a Mac? I think it's like 1%.
It can't be that small. It's
got to be 2.
It's got to be 5. I bet it's 5%.
5 maybe? Yeah, sure.
I'm betting it's 5%.
All right.
That seems like a good Price is Right bet.
So yeah, I will say what is wrong with the Full Nerd show podcast is the host is supposed to stay on topic, but you can't do that because I swerve all over the road, which is why they never normally let me host anything because it's just, the train has left the tracks now.
Actually,
and it's going down the mountainside.
And sorry to tell you this on air, but we're going to go ahead and have to let you go from the hosting position.
Oh, right.
So
it's okay.
Go clean up your desk.
It's not actually a pod. This is not. I'm not hosting. It's more of a what are they? The co-op. It's like this co-op. So we can
fireside chat.
Somebody can put all this back on track. Like I'm going to try to get the train off the side of the mountain with its load of gasoline.
All right, we got it.
Okay, wait. So where were we? Oh, I'm talking about this week's
topics. We're talking
topics.
about performance.
Performance. Let's actually. People are here to talk about crazy PC stuff. So let's talk about some crazy PC stuff. We have it right here. We're going to talk about Intel's 10-core Broadwell-E.
Radeon. We need to talk about Radeon.
Or Radeon more? So wait, what's more important? Actually, I realized just talking about this, they're actually an interesting side of two coins. The same, two different sides of the same coin, right? Because you've got 10-core Broadwell-E, which is stupid expensive, and then you've got RX 480, which is like, whoa, is it really going to be
cheap?
Stupid cheap.
Yeah, but so I think the main disappointment with the Intel stuff, because we talked about this last time I was on, and I had said I was probably going to pick up one of those 6-core chips.
Right.
The worst part is that they made the 6-core chip twice as expensive as it was before.
No, it's not twice as expensive.
It's $600. It used to be $350, so it's almost twice as expensive.
No. So you're mixing up. They got the they got the good 6-core part. Mm-hmm. Which is the one with all 40 PCIe lanes, which is the 5830X or 5830K, I forget. So that's a good chip. And then they got the one that has only 28 PCIe lanes. Mm-hmm. That's still more than what you got out of Haswell-E. And that one's still that's the one most people bought, the 5820K.
Yeah.
And that one was
That one was around 330, 350. Yeah.
List price was 380, but it really got down to about 330 at one point.
It was a real bummer to me how looking at the price breakdown for the entire line, everything that's 6 cores or higher got a price jump of some kind.
Yeah,
everyone's focusing on the 10-core chip being just like this stupid amount of money, but every single 6-core chip or higher went up at least $50.
Why did they do that? Why would they do that?
Well, I think the main reason is there's no competition, right? So You got
like what are you going to do? Buy an AMD chip?
I mean, the only competition Intel has is itself at this point.
Yeah.
Until Zen comes out. But as far, we actually should mention the price. So people who don't know, there's been a lot of headlines this week over Core i7 6850X. I should know the number since I wrote the damn review. But the price is the stunner, right? $1,700 and $1,723.
That's the price of my PC.
That's the price if you buy 1,000 of them. That's the the bulk price. I'm guessing if you're going to buy one, it's going to be more than that.
That is the crazy thing. I haven't actually seen one for sale yet, and I do want to see how that shakes out on the street. But the funny thing is like 17. And I was just saying that yesterday. It's like it's $1,723. It's like Intel at some point couldn't just round it off.
No.
It's like couldn't just well, you're buying 1,000 of them, so we're gonna sell it to you for $1,700. It's like no,
they would round up. They would sell it to $1,750.
But I mean, come on, man, with $23, where does the $23 come from? Is that like you think they're actually like somebody's there like we're gonna make you feel good about this? It's not gonna be $1,725. Give you $2 off.
Man. No, it's the cost of the little ink on the back of the chip. You know what I mean, where it says the part number.
I just can't believe. So, I mean, do you guys think that's nuts? Or should we talk a little bit about the performance? So, I tested it all last week. It's kick-ass in performance if you really do insane amounts of things at the same time.
Like what?
So, I'm saying you need to be rendering a Premiere video, which I did. You running Premiere video, running 3D rendering, and then doing something else. And then the thing is, like, awesome. But, like, if you're just doing Premiere, like 6700K, Skylake, perfectly fine.
What they call it, megatasking, like playing a 4K game while rendering, while streaming, like something like that.
I was wondering, like, did you test streaming performance? Because that's always been a sticking point for CPUs.
I didn't, but usually sort of that real-time encode is core heavy, so you do want more cores. I definitely would not be doing real-time Twitch. I wouldn't be building my Twitch audience on a quad core. Right, and most professional streamers actually have two boxes.
Yeah, they normally just route out to a second box.
Wait, building an audience? Are you announcing here today that you're going to start your Twitch channel?
Well, I'm,
he's
now
only
that you have a 10 core,
I'm too old.
World of
Could you imagine that? I just couldn't imagine like my son, like all the 12-year-olds, like, what's this channel? Wait, it's some kind of joke. Look at this.
This old man playing World of Warships.
Look at this guy. He really sucks. Right? Can you imagine? Like, man. I wonder what the oldest person on Twitch is. It's probably like 27, right?
But now it's
look
Gordon.
At the old guy. He's 27 on Twitch.
This is like American Idol rules. Like if you're over 27, you just can't apply.
Right, you can. I mean, because you got to have reflexes. Who's the oldest person on Twitch?
Jeff Green. He does a lot of Twitch streams, or
does
at least he used to.
Does he do Twitch streams?
Yeah, he used to.
Okay.
I know. He was going through Dark Souls.
He's like in his 40s, 50s. I don't know, somewhere in there.
Yeah, but the way it is.
But he's young. He's a cool old guy.
He's a cool old guy.
Yeah.
I'm just a yelling old guy. But you know what it is with Twitch? How old is he? So it's like in like next year, the thing in his palm's gonna start glowing red. Got to renew. He's over. Logan's Run reference, 1970s movies.
Yeah, for all the young kids out there.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but so on the megatasking thing, it's interesting because I was like, megatasking is like what the hell is that? I mean, like, why are you pushing this? And they're like, well, you got 10 cores, you need an excessive amount of tasks because you're not going to use it. It's really hard to use all 10 cores. If you do, it smokes everything.
Is it pretty smart about delegating cores to tasks?
Yeah, and then that's actually one of the cool features is with Broadwell-E is now you can actually say like, hey, they go through on each chip, and there's a chip right here I'm going to hold up for people who look at this in the audio. I'm describing it.
Fancy.
It's a CPU, it's silver, and it costs $1,723. But yeah, so now at the factory, Intel looks at each chip and they go like, hey, one of these cores is going to overclock better. So we're gonna let you identify this core. It's in this particular chip, it's core 9, I believe. So core number 9 overclocks the best, and they actually have a utility within Windows 10 and Windows 7 that you can then say like, hey, I want to run Microsoft Word overclocked on that one core. And the cool thing is then you can also overclock each of the cores individually, which you could never do before. You could sort of say, I want to overclock if there's a light thread, like something's running 4 cores, I want to overclock to 4 or 5 or something. But now you can actually say, I want to overclock cores 6, 7, 8, 9 to 4.5 gigahertz, and then everything else at this clock. And then
that's really cool. Actually,
how does that affect? How does that affect heat? Did you notice?
I really didn't look too much at the thermals because I didn't have that much time. I didn't have any thermal issues. I did run our part at 4 gigahertz and all cores, 4 cores at 4 gigahertz, and then I ran one of them at 4.5. So and then the cool thing is when that utility, you could then you can say I want this app to run on not core 9, and I believe the way it falls is it gives you the list of the cores it'll basically run on. So like they sort of rate them like 1 to 10, and then. So if core 9 gets this and you run 2 threads, and then it goes to core 3, and then you just overclock core 3, you should get more performance out of it.
What's really interesting to me about this is the new GTX GeForce cards. They have the new GPU Boost 3, which basically it'll scan your particular graphics processor, and it'll tell you, hey, man, it'll perform this well at this, voltage and this well at this voltage. So it like creates a custom overclocking profile for you.
Oh, really?
And it seems like this Intel thing's kind of the same thing. So I find it really interesting how both NVIDIA and Intel are really playing to the extreme overclocking right now with these.
Well, I guess that's
I guess that's what you get when you spend over $1,000 on it.
Yeah, 1080 is not exactly a cheap card, right? So.
No.
Well, speaking of cheap cards,
there was a all-in-one that came out.
Adam here, he's doing the moving us along. He's just like
it's called a
segue.
segue.
Move along, segue to.
Sorry, not to cut you off, Brad.
But do we have any more Broadwell-E questions, or no? We're good.
That's crazy. I have a question actually. I don't know if you know the answer. But when you're looking for a chip like this, I mean, unless you're streaming like we were talking about, the real use for it would be, like work tasks, productivity tasks, right? And that's traditionally been the realm of Xeon processors. How does this compare to, like, say, are there any 10-core Xeon chips? How do they compare price-wise to this?
Right, and that's actually kind of the crazy thing is there's actually 3 Xeons. There's 2 10 cores that are less. They're like $700. It's like, why is this? And then there's actually a 14-core Xeon. They're all LGA 2011 V3 parts, so they should work if you have the right chipset and motherboard support. But yeah, that one is $1,700. You can get a 14-core Xeon for the same price as this 10-core.
What's the catch then?
So the catch is most Xeons are locked. I believe those parts are locked, and those Xeons are clocked pretty low because Intel's not into. They don't want you to overclock the thing. Also, Xeons are OEM mostly, so there's no warranty. If you nuke your $1,700 CPU. Intel's pretty good about saying, yeah, we'll replace it. Xeon's like, go to the OEM you bought it from. So.
Well, then, I mean, who's using Xeons then?
Well, mostly if you're getting them in a system from Dell or whatever, so that you go to your system vendor to build it.
Aren't you using a Xeon?
I actually do run a Xeon at home because I'm badass, but
I run one here at work in my Mac Pro Tower.
Oh, right.
From 2011.
Right, those awesome 2011 CPUs that you're running your Mac Pro. But yeah, I don't quite understand it. Definitely there's low clock speeds on those Xeons, so you can't overclock it. The 10-core chip, really the best promise is, hey, we give you awesome multi-threaded performance up to 10 cores, and then because of all the per-core overclocking, the Turbo Boost Max 3 technology or some such that they're calling it, we can compete with a quad-core that's overclocked. So you can get, quad-core 6700K performance out of it.
It's pretty cool.
When you overclock. So it's a
have
great
like
deal,
an
too.
extra $1,000 to spend on an
extra,
chip.
yeah, I know. That's an entire system. You could build an entire system for $1,700. So
well, and
a damn fine one too.
Yeah, a really good system. You could buy a system for just $1,000 at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, this is like, what could you build, man? You could build a 6700K box with 1080. Could you do 2 1080s? No, not quite.
You could probably do one 1080.
So one 1080.
You could maybe do 2 980s once the price goes down.
Right, and they're already there, right? Or watch
this. This seems like a good segue.
This is a segue.
Wait! I have to stop this segue, which is really dumb.
What?
To say we filmed a hardcore hardware on this.
Oh,
so
yes.
That's what people.
Hardcore
yes,
hardware?
that's what you should follow up with, right?
We'll have a link.
Watch the hardcore hardware.
We'll link to the hardcore hardware.
Yeah. So
back to that segue.
Okay. Segue.
You
Here we
build
go.
A PC
this
with
episode 12, brought to you by the hardcore hardware.
12 cards.
12 cards. 12
You
cards.
shouldn't build a system with 2 980s. Right. You shouldn't buy any 980s right now because AMD just announced the $200 RX 480, its first Polaris GPU, and they're promising performance right around that range for just $200.
So is that true, or is that just kind of
they're promising that, but
well, they told the Wall Street Journal it'll be right around $500 card performance. But when you look at all the breakdown, they've only released limited specs. But when you look at it, it's probably going to be somewhere between the performance of a R9 390 and a 390X. So, very respectable, right in that ballpark.
For $200, and the 390X was how much?
It started around 450 or 480, but it went down in price pretty quickly.
Yeah, the whole NVIDIA pushing the price down thing. This time AMD didn't even wait. They didn't wait for NVIDIA to push the price down. They were just like, F it, 200. Swear words.
Oh, time code. You gotta write some
down.
time code right here.
We have a virtual swear jar, so then we have to mark that out. Did you? So Brad,
Otherwise iTunes will get mad.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So Mark Hockman, another writer here at PCWorld, he had a question. He thought, like, man, $200? Are they like giving the thing away? Don't they want to make money?
Well, I don't know. Because you got to figure this is using the much smaller 14 nanometer process, transistor die size, so they can get a lot more chips out of a standard wafer. So there's a good chance that these could, depending on how much it costs them to make these wafers, they could potentially get many more GPUs out of a single wafer. So
well, and I mean, we've talked in the past, like this is sort of AMD's Hail Mary anyway. Like I feel like if they can't get that graph of Steam users that's been slowly going green for the last couple of years, if they can't get that graph to turn around this year, I feel like they're in a pretty bad place.
This is a damn fine chance. I mean, $200 is really aggressively priced. If it is indeed, I mean, haven't tested it, if it is indeed around the performance of like a 390X for $200, I mean, the big draw of the GTX 1070 is that it has performance just a little bit better than a Titan X, and that's nearly twice as much as $200. The GTX 1070 is 380, so that's a big gulf between there. It's really aggressive on AMD's part.
Yeah, you can do two RX 480s for the price of a 370 or 1070.
Yep.
I guess what I want to note, though, is like whether why so cheap? It seems like they could have gone 250 or something and then lowered it later, or they just intentionally sort of flaunting NVIDIA because they know.
Yeah, I really think they need to. I really think they need to get that market share back. I don't think that they can run it at 250 because AMD is in such a bad place, both in terms of their reputation with drivers and the way that NVIDIA is shutting them out at GameWorks. Like they are in a place where they need a miracle to get back into the good graces of system builders.
Yeah,
and I think that $200 price point was enough of a headline grabber that now people who haven't considered AMD for years and years are finally like, hey, I might actually buy one of these.
Would you do it? I mean, if you're talking near 980, well,
I don't know if I would do it, and here is my reason, because I'm doing review games, and I will say that day and date with release, NVIDIA generally has better drivers. And so for me, I need those drivers to be solid on day one so that I can go, hey, this game actually works. And there have been too many times where AMD puts out their drivers like a week later or whatever, and the game runs like crap for a week up until that point. But for general use case, if you're a person that buys games 6 months after release, there's no reason to worry about driver support.
Usually.
I will mention that AMD's been stepping up the driver game the past 6 months.
Yeah.
They've released a whole lot more in the first 6 months of 2016. Yeah. What year is it? 2016 as opposed to 2015.
Yeah.
But
do you think, though, so here's what I want to know. So the $200, that traditionally gets you maybe a solid 1080p gaming card, right? I mean, in today's price, $200 is like a 960, I'm guessing? No,
$200 is a 960 or 380. Which actually kicked into 960's butt.
Right, and that's a solid 1080p 60 frames a second card, right? So.
Yeah, right around there. They'll get you close enough. But what's crazy to me is this is a $200 card, the RX 480, and it'll just eat any 1080 game you throw at it. I mean, if the performance is indeed on par with the 390 or 390X, I mean, that means everybody gets ultra settings on 1080 games now.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically
that's awesome.
This takes over that spot before from the 750 Ti or whatever, the Dota card, basically.
Do they still sell the 750 Ti? I mean,
they still, because that's NVIDIA's like play for that low end market is that 750 Ti, and this card basically takes over, I think, that market of like, hey, you just play MOBAs all day, like put one of these in, it'll look real good, and it won't cost you that much.
This will play, if the performance is on par, this won't just play MOBAs. This will play anything you throw at it.
Totally.
1080p, 60 frames a second, flat out, which is nuts.
I just mean from a price standpoint and like a positioning standpoint, this is like that, hey, man, You just need to play some games. Here's your games.
Yeah.
That's what gets me really excited about this whole generation of graphics cards. They've like basically moved forward 2 technological generations under the hood, their graphics technology. And what's crazy is how little power these things use. And towards the end of the year, they expect to start rolling out some cards with the 2nd generation of high bandwidth memory. And like the 750 Ti's claim to fame is that it doesn't need a power cord.
Right.
So can you imagine once, they start getting HBM technology in with these super efficient graphics cards, how we could have some really badass cards that are just like super small and don't need a power connection possibly.
But I don't imagine that's going to be at that $200 price point anytime soon. Right?
No, but I'm excited about it.
No, yeah, that'll be pretty awesome. Although the 480 doesn't look like it's as power efficient as I would have expected, because it's
that's AMD's standard thing, right? Like AMD has always been a power hog and a hot runner.
Yeah, but new process. I I guess, yeah, you're right.
I mean,
Brad,
an even smaller process. What is it, 12 nanometer or
14 nanometer?
14.
We'll see. It's rated at 150 watts according to their documentation, which is the same as the GTX 1070. So it's a very small amount of power, but it's interesting to see that their $200 card takes as much power as NVIDIA's, $400 card.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth pointing out that if this is on par with a 390X, when we tested a 390X, to get that level of power took AMD like 430 watts or something like that. So this is like a 3-fold increase.
Yeah, wow. So it's better than it has been.
Way better.
Yeah,
better.
my power supply is comically oversized now for this new generation of cards.
Because
I bought it. I mean, when I got the 980 Ti, my old power supply wouldn't run it anymore because I think I was running like a 650 watt before, and it was like right on the edge of having some issues. So then I bought 1,000 watt, and now it's just way too much. Like I could run so many cards off that 1,000 watt power supply.
You'll just start putting cards in just for fun.
Yeah,
just to use the power,
just to enhance my power bill.
Hey, do you think like $200, man? That is just like $200, 1080p, pretty much 1080p ultra, no 60 frames a second. It makes it pretty hard to like, why buy a 1070 card? Why go all the way to spending $400 basically? I mean, that's just like,
it is. It's a big gulf. Again, we're going to have to wait and see until we actually get our hands on the card and test it and everything. Yeah.
Assuming they're not being, yeah. I'm just like, I mean, is it then does it come down to resolution? So like for 1080p gaming, you do RX 480. For 1440p, you might do a 1070 card.
Yeah, it breaks down like that. I think if it's indeed as powerful as they say it is, I wouldn't be surprised if the 1070 comes down in price a bit, because the price to performance gulf between 980 level performance at $200 versus the 1070 basically has Titan X level performance. I mean, the difference in performance there isn't $200 worth at that point. So I'd expect the price on that to come down a little bit.
I agree, though. I have to also say it depends on how future-proof 1080 stays for the next couple of years. And I expect it to stay future-proof at least until people are buying new cards. But it is worth noting, right, that rumor has it we were getting new consoles out of E3, and the last time we got new consoles, the PC performance jumped ahead quite a bit in the year or two afterwards.
Related to that, it's pretty crazy. This is a $200 card. I mean, you can get it with 8 gigabytes of RAM. That's, another factor from the console push. I mean, it's a $200 card. I mean, the 8 gigabyte version will probably cost a little bit more, but, it's an entry-level card and it has 8 gigabytes of RAM. We've come so far since the consoles launched.
Well, and that's the thing. I'm really curious to see if we're getting a new Xbox and PlayStation by the end of the year or early next year. I'm really curious to see what that does to games again in the next 2 years, because we're finally not going to be. I mean, this happens every time, but this time it's happened extra fast with this console generation. That the PC is horribly hamstrung by the subpar hardware in those consoles these days.
Right. So I mean, a faster Xbox, faster PS4 has been rumored would be good for us because
it would be great. I mean, it's dumb for the console crowd because those boxes are 3 years old. I can't imagine if you bought an Xbox 3 years ago that you're very happy that you're already priced out by a new one. But for the PC crowd, it's great because if you even look at games from I've been going back and playing a couple games from 2011, 2012, and I remember when those consoles came out, everybody was like, do we even need new consoles? Man, you go back and play a game from 2011, that looks like trash now. It looks awful. So yeah, I'm curious to see what that jump forward does for us.
Not to talk about inferior consoles, but does that kind of break the whole console model? I mean, they're sort of used to like, we're going to come out with one box, you're going to use it for 8 years.
Oh yeah, it's a PC model now. Like they're basically saying, hey, it'll still play all the same Xbox One games, but now you'll probably have to change the settings for your high end or your low end Xbox, which is just the dumbest thing.
It's crazy how they're like working so hard to throw away all the consoles' big advantages, man.
Yep,
like different
really
hardware
trying.
levels. I mean, now you got to download massive day one patches and stuff.
Oh, not even the patches, the installs are crazy to me. Like it used to be, right? Like that was the thing everybody would hold up for consoles was like, man, I just put the disc in and it runs. And now I put the disc in and it takes longer to install off the disc than it takes me to download a game off Steam with my internet connection. Like I'll put in like Rare Replay or whatever. And it'll be like, hey man, come back in like 3 hours. This will be installed finally because we have a slow Blu-ray drive in this. I don't know. I can't. Like they're really trying to kill reasons to use consoles. Besides like price, obviously that $400 price or whatever is still pretty attractive. But
do you think they could sell an Xbox with? We're assuming that it's a level of graphics of from Polaris. Do you really think they could hit $400 to $500? I mean, that seems kind of crazy, doesn't it?
It'll be tight. I bet you it would be $500 box again.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on how much they're willing to take a hit, especially Xbox because they're so far behind on this console generation. I could see them taking the $100 loss to sell more mindshare.
Well,
They need something. Yeah.
This actually ties into what AMD is like pushing this card as, right? They're pushing it. They didn't say, hey, it's the ultimate 1080p card, which me as a PC gamer got really excited about. They're pushing it as, hey, now people can afford to play VR.
Yeah.
And which is amazing at $200. But that ties into all the rumors about the PlayStation and the Xbox getting VR headsets soon.
I mean, the PlayStation one's not even a rumor.
Like
the PlayStation one is coming. That's coming this fall. The rumor is the Xbox one. And the funny thing is that people have like made it up in their heads like the Xbox is getting some proprietary Microsoft designed VR headset.
Well, but it's Oculus, right?
Yeah, it's way more likely they're getting an Oculus headset because they already are partnered with Oculus. I don't know why they wouldn't just partner up on the console side
and
too.
they're pushing HoloLens. They want to keep pushing
Yep.
that. So it's like, hey, we have AR and VR.
But you could definitely, assuming the resolution isn't insane, like dual 4K panels, you definitely could push it. I mean, they're already saying the 480 can do 980 level of graphics. So
I mean, I would love for them to hit 1080 on those consoles flat out, 60 frames per second. The problem is the problem with consoles is that they never do this. What they end up doing is the PC gets so ahead so fast that then all the designers start making games for the PC to run at 1080 60, and they hit that like 1080-ish 30 range on consoles, and they call it a day because the people playing consoles A don't care, and B, that way they can like keep pushing the graphics forward, and so the graphics look really nice. They just run terribly, and then everybody goes, well, why can't we get 1080 on these consoles? Well, the reason is you could if all your games still looked like 2011 Xbox 360 games.
right.
But if they look like Mirror's Edge or whatever, you're not going to hit 1080 60 on those consoles.
But they're going to be pushing 4K anyway, right? That's kind of their big thing that they're going to be.
They're fake pushing
that with
4K.
consoles.
They're pushing 4K support, which is like, hey, we're gonna play 4K video, but they're not playing games at 4K.
All right. You know what? This is way too much console talk for me. I feel like dirty when I talk to
Yeah, you gotta go take a shower.
Just
you
like-
just feel
Hey,
it.
but they have
as
PC
we know-
parts inside these days, man.
It
It's
is
all
good for us. That's why we like to talk
All
about
those
our
Xbox exclusives come to PC anyway.
It's like humans.
Yeah,
and
Quantum Dream.
like for consoles, for me, it's like when humans, you go to the zoo and they've got monkeys. You gotta look at kind of like where you come from, right? Kind of.
All right. Well, let's move
I am
on.
this-
And then
mean.
if
Actually,
your
I'm
child
meaner.
falls into the console pen, you shoot the console person.
I'm actually meaner to consoles. I know for console people don't get it.